All right. So, Mark,
Yes.
you want to bring up. Welcome back to Ramble Entertainment. This is our second ramble for the week. I'm Scott, and that one's Mark. Not my penis, the guy below me. That sounds interesting. And we often get on this show we have here on Ramble Entertainment called Great Scott Marcus, and we just ramble about different topics we want to talk about throughout our week. Mark, you want to talk about Google Home, but more specifically from The Verge. What you wanted to talk about was how the device is how some of this technology is starting to look more like a device that kind of belongs in your home.
Yeah, this kind of started out. I was talking with some buddies of mine. Apple is now going out of the router business. If you didn't know, or if anybody didn't know, they actually did create some wireless routers. I have one, the Airport Extreme. I think I have the Airport Express too, somewhere tucked away, but I don't really use it. They were saying, where we're gonna go if we're not buying Apple's routers anymore, and I was like, well, I'll probably go the Eero, which is kind of a I think all they do is make routers basically, and Google has their
I've heard of
own.
them.
I forget what Google's is called now. Google Wi-Fi or something like that.
I'm about to take pills on screen. They're a supplement called Drenamine for stress, so we're very clear.
Or ecstasy,
Anyway,
whatever.
whatever.
And we kind of got on this tangent about. Actually, I kind of got on the tangent about these new Google products, Google Home and Google Wi-Fi specifically. And when I read this Verge article,
It tastes like dog food.
I believe I don't know who wrote the article or wrote the review. It mentioned that the Google Home looks like an air freshener, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And
Dan
Seifert,
Seifert?
Yeah.
We'll go with Seifert. That sounds good.
which I've never really thought about, and I didn't really think much of at the time when I read the article, but it kind of resonated with me how, looking at this product, and it does not really look like tech. The best thing to really kind of make a juxtaposition to this is the Amazon Echo, because for all intents and purposes, they're very, very similar products. And the Amazon Echo is either black or white. It is cylindrical. I'd say probably about 4 inches in diameter, maybe about 4 inches in diameter, probably about a foot tall. But it looks like a tech device, a speaker. And these Google products, it looks like it blends well with the home. And I was just really curious on, I was asking my buddies about this, how do you feel about that? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Is this something that we will be expecting tech to kind of go into for a while? Especially like home tech specifically. Right now you've got like TVs, game stations, it all kind of looks very, it looks like an appliance, whereas these really don't, these new Google products. And I was curious on, what your thoughts are about that.
I think there's three sides to this. This is a three-sided die or coin, or however you want to phrase that, where there will be tech like the Google Home that does well for itself, looking like just something within the home, innocuous, not really techy. I think when you look at something like a router, that is one of these devices that can do well going in either direction. It looks like a router, or it looks like just an object within the home. Not a pumpkin, but like just kind of an air freshener, like the Google Home.
The Google Wi-Fi and the Eero are very they're very good looking routers. They're just well designed, as opposed to like this a Belkin or Motorola or something that you've got hooked up that just it's like, oh, that's
there's
piece of
there's
internet tech.
D-Link ones that look like just a cylinder, and that's fine too. I think refrigerators or ovens are another great example of this, where a lot of them, like if you watch HGTV, like my parents do, you have a lot of refrigerators and ovens that look like they're just built into the cabinets, or even a dishwasher that looks like that, and those are great examples of this. But then there are examples of things that I think, at least for now, should mostly maintain their appearance, where like a computer is a computer. I
Mm-hmm.
think Apple kind of for a bit pushed towards like make it look almost more TV like, or just
Mm-hmm.
make it look like this innocuous object within the home. But now I think that was a while ago, and now I think they
Right.
basically just learned that it's just like, no, it's a fucking computer.
Yeah, they've
And
Apple's definitely hit the blend of form versus function. I'd say almost perfectly at this point with their computer systems.
I think the direction that our gaming consoles are going is smart too. Go with the set top box look.
Mm-hmm.
That is a thing. That is something our society recognizes, and form follows function.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of what comes to mind here, where it's just like, if the form needs to be this thing, then it should be this thing. But the Google Home, a router, like those are things that function on their own, which means typically we don't have to interact with them much. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to send someone over to my router to, be like, hey, can you unplug the router? And then they're like,
What? Where
what's
is
the
it?
router? What, is it this pumpkin? Is it this glass? Ah!
Yeah, I mean, that's
So
the thing. I guess like a router is usually not something that's kind of sitting out in the open. That's going like, this is my piece of internet technology. So
I
it doesn't
don't
need to make a statement.
I don't want a fucking keyboard that like blends in with the wood grain.
Right.
You look at that and it's just like, oh, you're clever. It's just kind of like, no, it's a keyboard. Like it's gonna get a lot of use, some wear and tear. Like don't try to be clever. Like be utilitarian, or if you want to be sleek in design, be sleek but technologically sleek. And you kind of look at this with. Nah, not even phones. Phones have always just been phones. Although, like, some of your old cordless phones or corded phones even kind of started to get into
Yeah.
that, like, it looks like it blends in kind of thing. And it's just like,
When you get that with
fine.
TVs now, you can. I don't think you can buy them this way. You can get like aftermarket sets that actually kind of make them turn into a mirror. You can put like a frame around it that's made of wood and has all sorts of ornamentation on it. And it when it's off, it is a functioning mirror. And when you turn it on, it's like, well, there's a TV. Which I think that's slightly different though in this case. Because it's not made to be blended into. It's just an aesthetic preference. If you're like, oh, I don't like the way this TV looks, so I'm going to turn it into something that's also functional with my house.
Here's kind of my counter example to that. When I see one of those digital photo frames, I'm just like,
Have you got
whatever.
one?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of whatever.
like, yeah, when I see that, I'm just like, that's not a photo frame. Like, it's not blending in as a photo frame. It kind of just really stands out because it is an identifiable piece of technology. And I don't think it can, or at least not right now, until screens really get a lot thinner, which we're pushing
Getting there.
towards. Although 4K is going to happen first. It's not like a router where it could just be this innocuous object. It is a frame. It's meant to be looked at. It's meant to be observed, which means that's what takes away from it. It doesn't have this ability to hide itself within the environment. It's meant to be looked at, just
Right.
like the TV, just like the computer. All of the devices, all of the technology I have here at the computer is noticeable because it is technology. It's meant to be here. It's meant to be looked at. It's meant to be interacted with. And I think that is the great divider, where it's just like Google Home you interact with, but you interact with it like just kind of in a space. It's not something you have to touch. It's not something you have to really fuck around with. I swear to God, this text might actually be the woman from fucking Facebook. So I'm gonna check it.
Wait, what?
But yeah, like go on.
No, and what I'm kind of seeing this is, again, the Amazon Echo, when that came out, it's very, it looks like tech. So I'm always wondering, if certain things, certain devices, and
It wasn't.
home appliances are going to start taking on a more of a challenge in form, which I think Google has done and also succeeded in. Whereas the Echo, like I said, it basically says, okay, we need to make a 360 speaker. That's it. Whereas like Google's just like, let's make this look like it fits in a little bit better. And I'm not sure if you're going to agree with me on this one. The Xbox One S I think is personally the best looking console I've ever seen. It's just, I think it looks fantastic. It's sleek. They ended up finding some graphic designer actually, or graphic or industrial designer. I forget what his name is. He's got a website, minimalism, something like that. Pretty neat stuff, but it's just like I felt like that was a big step in that kind of technology actually going, wow, that actually looks really nice. I mean, yeah, Apple's kind of done this for a while, and they've, as you've said, they've kind of just kind of plateaued and said, all right, this is how it is. But I'm almost wondering if, some of these other techs that haven't not given form any kind of thought in their design process, if that's going to be more prominent in the future, with more iterations of Google Home, or if Apple comes out with its own standalone Siri device, or maybe the next set of consoles.
The One S is a nice console, undeniably. I don't think it leans away from its tech.
It still it still looks like a console. I just think, if you compare that to like, I think the PS4 Pro looks like shit, personally.
I got mine.
Do you?
Nice. Yeah, I don't have it like with me right now. Yeah. I opened it, made sure it worked. It looks better in person.
Does it?
Than it has in pictures.
Because like I'm like looking at it, I'm like, man, it just looks like this. I think the PS4 looks fine. PS4 Pro is just.
I think the PS4 looks good. Here's my thing: when it comes to consoles, these aren't devices that we have in the fucking center of our living rooms, or at least I don't.
True.
And I kind of tuck away all my consoles, even here on my desk. Like, my PS4 is actually the most hidden of all my consoles. Even though I like it probably the most, even by comparison to the Xbox 360 Elite that I have sitting here, and the PS3, which I use for a Blu-ray player still. I feel like, I just feel like these. The consoles, your kind of PCs, they're either going to do one of two things. They're going to sit out in the open, they're going to look exactly what they look like.
Right.
Or they're going to be hidden. And that's kind of their end game. Sure, you have these kind of custom skins or custom cases that you can put on them, but nonetheless, there's still a console that you typically don't just like put on display
Function
next
prevails
to your flat screen. And it's, I mean, the form is still important. The Xbox One looks like this bulky industrial like hardware that you could bash someone's skull in with. Granted, the PS4 is pretty sharp, so I don't know which one would actually win in a fight. But
I just remember like during those the unveil events between
bold
the Xbox
versus
One
italic,
and between the Xbox One and like the PS4, like when they unveiled it, like I remember watching it and going, like expecting to be like, oh, like there it is, but it was just like, oh.
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh my god.
Like I think the PS3 was kind of like an kind of moment. PS4 and Xbox One, you're just like,
I think the 360 had the better form than the PS3 did to start with.
You're probably right.
Because I don't care about either of those two, but like everybody made fun of the PS3 for looking like a George Foreman.
That's right.
The 360 had always kind of had this sleekness to it, even when it was a bit bulkier. Although when it started, the 360 did look a lot more like a child's toy. Where I think the PS3 kind of looked more like an adult's set-top box. But either way, I don't think like that all this stuff is kind of like beside the point, where it's just like, so what if it looks ugly? Put it behind the screen, as long as it has enough breathing room, and you're fine. You've seen how fucking big and gaudy my PC is, but that doesn't matter. What matters is how powerful it is. And when people see it, they're not like, ugh, it's, like big and gaudy and it's a big piece of bulky technology. No, they're like, holy shit.
That's
that
massive.
Thing is, yeah, exactly. Because what's important to the technology is what we recognize as being powerful. And no matter what, I don't actually recognize the Xbox One as that powerful, but it's still a great gaming console, nonetheless. And I'm excited to see what they do with their next iteration of the console. So,
So yeah, I think what I'm kind of excited about is, I mean, I've got a number of, besides consoles, I mean, I got my PS4. I've got a few kind of more AV home tech, leaving computers out of it. I mean, I've got my MacBook Pro in front of me, but it's not like it's out in the open, out for display, or people are like, oh wow, there's your computer. I've got a entertainment center, big ass receiver. It's just disgusting, honking black piece of technology, and it works great. It does its job. But after seeing something like this, it makes me wonder, what if, they actually had some, an actual designer come in and say, okay, now we've got this functioning, working. Like, let's juice up this form a bit. Like, it'd be so cool if I had my whole entertainment center and be like, that's my receiver. I'm like, wow, that almost looks like a piece of art. And same with, I guess
an audio receiver.
Yeah, audio receivers. I've got like my 5.1 surround. Like I think the speaker system's Harman Kardon, and my subwoofer actually looks kind of nice and sleek. It's got a shiny black surface on it, rounded edges. A single white LED light. Like, that looks good, and it's not terrible being out in the open. But the receiver looks just like I don't know. It's like a tumor sitting on top of my entertainment center. It's ugly. And it'd be nice.
When it comes to an audio receiver, this is another kind of one of these pieces of audio technology that we barely interact with.
Right.
There's these times when we might adjust the audio settings, but most of the time it's either a power button or it auto powers on with the TV, with the entertainment console, with a set-top box. And to me that stands like a router, where it can go both ways. Ha! I mean, it's really I have no disagreement with that.
Yeah.
And I think like that's also good where you can have like kitchens that if you want your objects to be more blended, they can be blended, or if you want these standout stainless steel types, they can stand out, and like these are clearly appliances, and you know where they are and you know how to use them. Or you can have these blended appliances that you live here and you know where they are and you know how to use them. And I think I'll be curious to see actually where a lot of this lands in 20 or 30 years, because we definitely go through phases. Even 5 years, yeah, we definitely go through phases with design where it's just like, that was good for a while, but now we actually see that it's just kind of terrible. Bell bottom jeans.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. And I like your approach on this, where it's like, if you want a home assistant, if you want to blend with your home, then Google Home might be what you want. If you want something that's more techy, you say, what, I want my tech to look like tech, then Amazon Echo's for you, which I guess is good that you actually have that competition now between the two, and say which one better suits your personal needs and or aesthetic pleasures, and you've got the choice.
Indeed. So why don't we go ahead and move into our final ramble before our topic?
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing this up, Mark.